who is mostly, in many ways, my polar opposite, discounting religion and the paranormal and things of that nature. He did a video recently called Imagine, which is a friendly-ish discussion of how the world would be better without religion, inspired by, of course, the Beatles song. I do not agree with his message. I do not approve of his message. That being said, he's been demonetized on YouTube and banned in several countries, including the United Kingdom. And while I don't agree with what he has to say, I believe in the First Amendment. So I highly recommend everybody go to YouTube and look up Imagine Godless Cranium. He's been mirrored on a number of channels. You can find him on Chocolate Hat, which is an atheist I tend to like a little bit better. But it's give it a watch, just because to hell with censorship.
Yes.
May not agree with what you said, but you have a right to say something like that.
Exactly.
To quote the philosopher, not the musician, Voltaire, I may not like what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it.
Amen. Very much, yeah.
Okay, that said, welcome, Chuck.
Thank you for having me here. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, so thank you so much.
It's great. We've been talking since October, I want to say now.
Well, Karen Timper, she introduced us,
yes.
And it was early September with that.
Oh, yeah, it was September, wasn't it? Yeah. And yeah, well, then we've got to talk about that. Just
it's an unbelievable story. I know you've heard it, but today I still get asked about it. I still scratch my head like, how is this person running around? But
oh, here we go. Yeah, the infamous.
Yeah.
Before we get into that story, though, why don't you introduce yourself? Since I always prefer to let guests do that. You know you better than I do.
Okay, sure. My name is Chuck Lehman. I'm 52 years old. I've been I started off as a paranormal investigator back in 2010. I've always had a belief in the paranormal, but it was just one of those things that I ended up getting into because me and my wife, Andrea, who I give all the thanks in the world for the support. So I'm starting off by saying that I love my wife to death and she supports me in all this, which is fantastic. Not so much in the beginning, she was a little nervous about this, but an episode of Ghost Adventures, there was Return to Bobby Mackey's World. And at the end of the episode, Aaron Goodwin and all of them are standing up there, and Aaron says, you know, if you're a skeptic and you don't believe in what we do, then go out and do it yourself and see if this is real or not. Then, you'll see. So I'm like, And I said, you know what, that's something I can try.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, challenge accepted. So I went out and got a digital audio recorder, a K2, and a digital thermometer. So there was a local cemetery near where we lived that went back to Civil War times.
Oh, wow.
It's a small cemetery, but that's how far it went back. And my daughter had dance school near there, so I would go on the way to dance school. My wife would drop me off for an hour. She went to the dance school, and then when she came back, she would pick me up. So I figured an hour is a good way to try it. So I want to say, before I started doing this, I read all the websites, I read books. I didn't just blindly leap into this. I wanted to do research to make sure I wasn't doing something stupid where, the son of Satan would be coming home with me. It was definitely something that I was a little bit nervous about.
Smart.
Yeah. So for the first 15 minutes of walking around, and one of the things I was always careful to say, right off the bat, I said, no spirits in the name of God and Jesus have any permission to follow me out of here. And I firmly believe that, and that's always worked for me. But I'm saying that, and I'm walking around in the first 15 minutes, I'm thinking, I feel like a damn fool doing this. I don't know, this is stupid. And then I sort of got into it, and there's nobody in the cemetery, so I walk around, the hour's up, my wife calls me on the phone, she says, I'm gonna come pick you up. So get in the car, go home. So I go through on the audio recorder and I start listening, and then I hear a voice. I'm like, that can't be. So I listen again, that's a voice. Sounded like a little boy's name saying Anthony. Then I'm walking around, and then there's another voice. I ask, I hope you're all doing well. And it was like a female with a Jamaican type voice, Caribbean type voice, and she says, we're fine. And then a couple of others, and I said, this is crazy. Like, I always believed in paranormal, but I didn't trust what was on the TV shows as being real. Yeah. And now I'm hearing it for myself. So now I got to go back and do it a second time. So this next week, I wait a week to do it. I'm not rushing to get out there the next day. So I go back the second time, and I catch a couple of more voices. So I'm like, no, this can't be. There's nobody in the cemetery. I don't hear people screaming or yelling off in the distance. So then the third week, and this is what finally cinched it to me and led to where I'm sitting right now. My daughter gets sick, and she can't go to dance school, but I don't want to miss my week. So I told my wife I'm going to drive up to the cemetery and I'll stay there until it's dark. So when I get there, it's like a little bit of light left, dusk, and then it gets dark. So I get up there and I park next to this little mausoleum, which is where I seem to be getting a lot of the EVPs from.
Makes sense.
I had a Honda, 2004 Honda Accord, but I left the windows rolled down, doors unlocked, because I said, if I have to get out of here in a hurry, I want nothing to stop me.
Yeah,
so I
it's
set
like,
up a
yeah.
video camera, I walk around, I'm taking photographs, so for about the first 45 minutes, there's nothing going on. Then I'm by the mausoleum, and then I hear footsteps on the pavement, and they're heavy boots, I shine my flashlight because I think it's a person walking up on me, sneaking up on me. There's nobody there. So I turn off the light. 5 minutes later, here's the footsteps getting closer again. I shine the flashlight, there's nobody there. And this is, I think it was November or December, and there's leaves all over the grass. So if they walk off the road to get onto the grass, I'm going to hear the crinkling of the leaves. I don't hear that. So this is like really weird. So then I start to go out to meet, and I get up enough nerve because my heart's going like this right now. So I get up the nerve and I walk out to meet where the footsteps are coming from. Now the footsteps are leading down back into the back of the cemetery. I said, I don't know who you are, what's going on, but I said, I'm not following you back there. If you want to talk to me, you come up where I am and I'll talk to you. So I walk back, and as I'm walking back past my car, because I'm going to toss my digital camera in because I think I'd filled up the car, and I'm tossing it into the back seat. The car alarm goes off and scares the daylights out of me. Now when my heart was going like this, it's and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I was wearing a flannel jacket with a very loose fitting pocket where my car keys were. So I reach and I grab it, I'm hitting all the buttons to shut off the car alarm. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I said, all right, they want me out of here. That's it, I'm out of here, because I have no explanation why the car alarm went off. So I grab my camera, I throw everything, I said, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. I think this is my last investigation. This is too much.
End of the ghost hunter.
Yeah, right. So I walk into the house, I get home, I walk in the house, and Andrea comes to the door and she says, why are you home so early? I hold out my hand and I'm doing this. And she goes, what happened? So I explained it to her. So she says, well, maybe you set off to hit the panic button on your key fob. And I'm like, I don't see how, because they were sitting in a loose pocket. I've had the keys, in my jeans pocket, real super tight, and never had the car alarm go off. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. So, but I had my audio recorder going the whole time. So I go upstairs to listen to it because I want Andrea to listen to the playback. I said, I'm listening to the playback, the car alarm goes off, you hear me freak out, I get the keys, and I'm like, oh my God. And then right after I go, there's a voice in the background that comes out really crystal clear, and he goes, oh yeah. Like he got me with the practical joke, and I'm like, son of a gun. And I'm like, I listened to it again. I said, Andy, you have to come listen to this. And she comes and listens to it. That's the same thing she thinks. She says, well, they were waiting for you to walk. They dragged you out from the car. As soon as you got back, they set it off to scare me.
They just screwing with you.
They're screwing with me. But I didn't take
how many visitors do they get? They're bored.
But I think as soon as they get that are that interested in contacting them.
I was probably the first. I don't think anybody had ever been there for that before. So anyhow, but yeah, so I didn't take it as malicious.
Especially because you're the new guy. It's like, you might have got like some old dead ghost hunter who's like, wait, this is a new kid on the block. I gotta mess with him.
I gotta teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
And then so I said, you know what? I have to go back the next day and tell him kudos on a job well done. I wasn't going to go back, but after I heard that, I said, you know what? It was a good practical joke. So I went back there. I walked around and I said, whoever set the car alarm off, good job, practical joke, you got me. 100% kudos. I never got a reply to that, which I was kind of disappointed in. But then after that, I was like, there has to be so much more to this, and obviously, as you know, that there is. So. And then, so that pretty much cinched it. I said, I'm going to be an investigator for as long as my legs can carry me someplace. So anyhow, so to move on, how do you get to the crystal balls from being a paranormal investigator?
Yes.
So to give you the crib note version of a story that would take 30 minutes to tell, I don't want to kill everybody with a story. My friends Robert and Sandra Bandoff from Fort Paranormal up in West Milford, New Jersey, they were doing an investigation at an Italian villa. And they were shorthanded, so they asked me if I wanted to come along. And I worked with Robert at Newark Airport, so that's how we got together and collaborating. and they ended up becoming my mentors, which was good because I'm pretty much a solo investigator.
Gotcha.
So they have a team, and it's come along. We're shorthanded, and we learn from each other, so that was great. We do the investigation, but there was like a series of like 8 or 9 different things that happened or had to happen before we went on investigation because I had to get off from work last minute, and then it snowed, and the snow had to quit by a certain time, and the roads.
Yeah,
had
that
to be
sounds
plowed.
familiar.
Yeah, there's so much stuff happened, and if one of these things doesn't happen, then I don't go on the investigation. Well, we go to the investigation. It seemed like a quiet night. Go home the next day, get up. I'm listening to the audio recorder, and there's a couple of EVPs, and I'm like, all right, so we caught a few things. My wife and daughter were out, so I said, I'm gonna go hop in the shower now. So I go to take my shirt off, and I notice right here on my chest, I've got a 1-inch scratch. I'm like, where did that come from? And it's deep and welted. It's not like, just like I did this, like coming out of the shower where it gets red.
Right.
I mean, it was like one of our dogs had scratched me. But that didn't happen. So I go and I check my T-shirts to make sure I didn't accidentally do something in the middle of the night. Nothing. So I tell Robert. He says, "Oh, you got to document. You got to document that." So I document it, take photographs and stuff. So I'm feeling pretty cool. Like I got scratched.
Yeah.
I see people getting scratched, but I'm not thinking, demonic or something like that. I'm just thinking, man, I got my badge of honor. I got scratched. Yeah. Again, that's the newbie in me. Now it's not like
You know better.
Yeah, so I know better. So the next day I'm at work and Robert comes up to me and he goes, "Chuck, where did you get scratched?" And he's got this look of the doctor that's he's ready to give you the bad news, the bad diagnosis. So I said, "It's right here." So he's like, "Oh, geez." I said, "What?" So we have a friend from Australia. His name's Steve Lewis. He's a medium.
Okay.
So Robert had contacted. They met each other online some years ago, and they work together. He does a lot of FaceTime with the group. So Robert had mentioned to him that I'd gotten scratched, but even Robert didn't know where I was scratched at. So Steve tuned in and he says he's got a 1-inch scratch on his right chest above his right nipple.
That's an impressive sight.
That's impressive, yeah. It's a single scratch. It's not 3 like you would see in the
classic demonic.
So he goes, all right. He goes, it's not a demonic. He says there was a female spirit that was there that took a liking to me and was trying to form an attachment with me so she could find me and home in on me. So now I'm like, I don't know whether to be flattered or horrified.
Go stalker.
There you go.
And then now I got to tell my wife this. And the first thing Andrea says is, "You better tell that spirit female to keep her hands off my husband."
There you go.
Hands off my man, ghost lady.
Yep. So Steve says you got to get some lavender oil and some sage. And like, I'm not really all too in on this stuff, the metaphysical, but he's been doing this for years. I'm going to trust what he says. I'm not going to just discount it because I got scratched by somebody. I don't want to take any chances, so I'll do it. So I have to go down to, like, where do I get all this stuff from? Well, there was a certain New Age store that just happened to open up not far from where I'm at. So I said, I'm going to go there to get the stuff. And then it was my day off, and I said, all right, I'll go before I go to the gym. And then I'll go after the gym. So I go after the gym. I get there, there's a lady who walks into the store, and she had nothing to do with the store. She had an office upstairs. So I walk in and I ask the owner, I said, I need sage, I need lavender oil, I need angelic oil. And she comes over, she says, "Oh, what are you using it for?" So I explain the situation, and she goes, "Oh, I'm a gatekeeper." I'm like, I don't know what a gatekeeper is, so I'm like, okay. But,
You should have said I'm the keymaster.
Yeah, that's why.
Come on.
I've had this a while. That would be my fault.
Everybody knows.
And I've heard the term in context.
if my mind wasn't so caught up, I got
It's like, okay,
I would have got that Ghostbusters reference.
So she says, "Oh, do you ever do this, and this, and about your spirit guides and angels?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Oh, well, I do a class. Why don't you come by?" Well, I show up and it turns out it's meditation. I'm like, "Oh, great." I said, "I've tried meditation and it's never worked for me." And I'm like, "Oh, great." I said, "Oh, you know what? I'll sit down on this one class and that'll be it. I'm not coming back again." And then after the class, during the class, and she's doing a guided meditation, I'm like, "Holy cow." I said, like, there's things popping into my head and I'm getting these odd feelings. So I'm like, maybe there is something to this. So I could go back and get back again. Amy Berg is my teacher. And then it turns out she's a Reiki teacher. So the next step, so I'm doing meditation, and then I show up one day and my stomach hurts, and I've had pains for years, and I've been to the doctors for years. They've done every test down the throat or up the other end, blood test, every test you can think of, but they can't find anything wrong with me. So she throws me up on the table. She goes, well, we got a small class tonight. Let's just do some Reiki on you and see what happens to you. So I'm not one who believes on the healing. Like I've seen the priest on TV do the healing. I don't.
And most of those guys are full of it.
They're full of it, yeah. So she throws me on the table. Another person, she grounds my legs, and Amy's working on me, and her hands are like red hot. I didn't see her put any lotion or anything into her hands. I guess I got to learn how to put these headphones on.
They take some getting used to.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm laying there 10 minutes, and all of a sudden my arms start getting tingly. I'm like, what is this happening? And then it feels like, I don't know, I want to say like Electro from the comics. Like I feel like electrical bolts are like shooting out of my fingertips. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. And then I feel like a third person has come in, and I can feel like an indentation, like somebody's got their hands on my body. And I'm like, all right, there's this third person in the room now. She finishes about 30 minutes. I take off my little eye thing. There's only 2 people in the room. So I said, who was that third person that was in here? No third person in here. I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, oh, so I was feeling, she goes, I was one of your angels coming down to assist with the Reiki. And I'm still trying to make all sense of this. Like, what? And then all of a sudden she goes, Amy says, you know what, Chuck, you're a big faker. And I'm like, I start laughing, and I said, I'm a big faker. And she goes, yeah, you come in here all the time. You show up to the meditation class, and you're always like happy-go-lucky, and nothing bothers you, and you just, are a free floater in the world. But she goes, but you bury all your anger and your heavy emotions. And I had to laugh because it was true. It's something I'd done all my life. And she goes, you got to stop burying everything. That's where all your pain's coming from. 2 days later, the pain was completely gone. Something doctors couldn't do in years. So, all right, now I'm kind of a believer in this. So I started to learn the Reiki with her. So over time, I ended up becoming a Reiki master.
So this might be a good time. Explain to everybody what exactly is Reiki.
Reiki is an Eastern traditional, it's like an energy modality type of healing.
Like chi healing.
Yeah, sort of like chi healing. I almost like equate it to a Star Wars reference. Like it's like the Force. It's universal life energy. But as I was taught, that's energy that comes from God, and we use it as a tool. Like when I do Reiki on somebody, it's not my energy; it's God's energy. I'm a water faucet, and He's sending the water through me to heal the person I'm working on. So that's the best analogy I can describe it. Or almost, it's like acupuncture without needles. So everybody's got a. I'm going brain dead for a second. It'll come to me.
But there's the chakras.
Well, the
Like
chakras
the
are worked on. It's an attunement. You have there's a Reiki level 1, 2, 3, and then a master. There's Usui Reiki, which is the traditional type of Reiki. Amy was teaching me white light Reiki, which is just an offshoot of it. So when you do your attunement, you go in for like a little ceremony, you learn about the history and everything, and then she does something where she puts her hands on the top of your head to give you the attunement. She said before, and anybody can learn this. You don't have, it's not a special gift that you have to pick up. Any one of us could walk in and learn Reiki. We start off, she says, our funnel, I guess, to collect the energy, the Reiki energy from the universe that comes into our heads, about the size of a garden hose. By the time you get to level 3 or master level, now it's the size of like a fire hydrant hose, so you can take that much more energy into me. Again, when I'm listening to all this, I'm like, all right, I'll try it. Maybe I'll just do level 1 and that'll be it for me. So Amy's just doing the attunement on me. She puts her hand on my head, and then it felt like somebody poured like hot water or hot liquid down my throat. Almost like the Evil Dead, where some hot chocolate for you, like that type of thing.
It's a great movie.
Groovy.
I'm like, it was the craziest sensation. And then, so after the attunement, we go for an hour lunch break. And as I'm driving along, I go get some lunch, and now my head is getting all woozy, and then I get what's post-concussion syndrome. I've had 9 concussions in my life. Six of them from playing soccer. I was a soccer goalie, so getting kicked in the head or diving into something I was a reckless person when I played the game. if you anybody out there's got kids who want to play soccer, just don't let them be a goalie and you'll be okay. And so for the next 3 days, it was my head had that feeling like my daughter liked to go on a roller coaster. One roller coaster ride gives me post concussion syndrome for 3 days. It's just the headaches and the feeling of blood. It's a crappy feeling. And then so I have that feeling, and then plus I felt angry. Like all this anger started coming out of me. So that after about a week later, I asked, "What was all this anger about?" And she goes, "Because you've been burying that all these years. When you do the attunement, it also releases a lot of stored up old negative emotions that aren't beneficial to the body." Okay, there is something to this, right? So now I go back for the level 2, and then when I have the level 2, I don't get that liquid feeling. But again, I get the post-concussion syndrome, and then again another release of anger. For a few days, just all this anger just starts coming out of me, and it fades away. Nothing's triggering it; it just all popped out. And then the level 3 and the master level, when I did those, the post-concussion syndrome was less and less each time to the master, but then I would start having weird, dreams and visions and things like that. So it went from a physical in the beginning to more of a mental towards the end when I got to the level 4. And then there was, oh my gosh, I almost hate to bring this up, but I guess I have to because everybody keeps telling me I have to. During this time, I'm getting these weird dreams. This is in between the Reiki where I'm getting. There's a female spirit that shows. I would say spirit, but there's a female that shows up in a dream. I have a parked car. I'm opening my trunk. She's next to me. She goes, "Oh, hi, Chuck. How are you doing?" I don't know who this lady is, and she goes, "Oh, I'm fine." And she goes, "Oh, well, it's nice to see you. I'll be seeing you soon." And the dream ends. I'm like, this is odd. All right, but I just shrug it off. Then a couple of weeks later, I'm having a dream. I'm someplace, and all of a sudden I'm at an apartment complex. The same girl walks out, and she goes, "Oh, I'm so happy you could make it here." I'm like, "Okay, come on. I'm glad you showed up." Okay, so walk into this apartment building, and we sit down at a circular table, and then there's her, I guess a mother and a brother, and she's sitting across from me, and there's like some banter going on. I think I'm 48. It's like 4 years ago. And then the mother all of a sudden says to the son, "Why don't we leave so these two can go sit on the sofa and be kissy face?" And I'm like, whoa, I don't know what's going on here, but I said, first off, I'm going to say I'm a happily married man. So I said, whatever you guys are scheming up here, that's not happening. And I said, and second of all, I said, because she looked like she was 19 years old. I said, I'm 47. I said, I'm old enough to be your father. And I said, now if I was, 19 and single, I said, maybe, but yeah, it's not happening now. So she's got this sad look on her face. And then she goes, "It's okay. We'll find some way to make this happen." And I'm like, "What?" Dream ends. All right, this is really weird. So then a few weeks later, I have a dream where it's sort of like a romantic setting, and now she's sitting next to me again. Same person. I'm like, I already said this is not. No. I'm happily married. No, we're not doing anything. Stop it. Then a couple of weeks later, I have another dream, but now it's somebody. And it was now a repetition of week after week after week. I'm having these same dreams. It's like a romantic setting, sun going down in the forest or the beach or whatever. But it's somebody who I may have dated or was attracted to from years ago. But it's a different person each time. Each time I have to go through I'm flattered, but I said I'm a happily married guy. I'm not looking for anything. So now I'm scared that it's another spirit from someplace, and she's hooked into me, and she's trying to find some way to break through and
finding the right face to put on to get all kissy face.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it was the same chick from the Scar.
I was actually thinking that, but I wasn't entirely sure about that. So anyhow, it was just before New Year's 4 years ago, and then we had an Elena who's a psychic friend. And we were doing like a New Year's Eve meditation get together. And she goes, "Oh, I'll do some quick readings on you." And then she goes, "Chuck, let's find out who this spirit is. Let's try to get this." So I'm thinking it's some spirit that followed me, and it's going to be one of those nasty things from the thing. So she's reading me, and she goes, "Okay." She goes, "It's not a spirit that's followed you." She goes, "It's your twin flame." And I'm like, "What?" what is a twin flame? And she goes, real quickly, it's like they say it's the soul. When the soul is born, it splits into two pieces, a masculine and a feminine, and she's the feminine part aside of you.
It sounds like the
Plato's theory.
The what?
The Plato example.
Well, I was thinking specifically that's what I was looking for. Soulmates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. But she said, but it's not like a soulmate. Like she said, like Andrea is your soulmate here. You're not going to find anybody better than Andrea. And I would totally agree with that in a second. But she said,
you better.
But this person's been with you through like lifetimes and lifetimes if you believe in the reincarnation and coming back. And she says, but you have two choices to make. She says, one, you can reject her and she'll leave you alone, but you're always going to have this little bit of sadness inside of you, which when I've had Reiki shares and people doing Reiki, that's another thing different people have told me, you got this little bit of sadness inside of you. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm not sad about anything. She goes, or you can accept her. However, then your life is going to change and things are going to start happening. And anything can happen. So you are forewarned right now. And unfortunately for me, I'm the type of person who always wants to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. So
Clearly.
Nobody in the paranormal community I've ever met is not like that. We're always going to poke the dragon with the stick and see what happens.
Well, I think that's a requirement. I mean, if you were the type of person just to leave things alone, you wouldn't be in the business.
I want to say we've come up on our first half hour, and particularly given the niftiness that we have to give away, I want to take a quick chance to let people call in if somebody has a question.
Yes.
So before I get to the calling in, I've got a little bit of inducement to get some more people to call in. So we're giving away free tickets to, what's the name of it? Bridgestone's Comedy Club in Atlantic City. You get to pick your date, you get your show, your venue, between 3 casinos. You'll be able to pick your own, go see a comedian live. Just call in and have a relevant question for Chuck, 609-807-2492, 609-807-2492.
Excuse me, I got to go get my cell phone. I'll be right
back. I was going to say, fair warning, if you don't call in, we're taking these.
Guests can get free tickets. I'll just let you know that.
Oh, there you go.
So we got you covered.
All right. So before we dive back in, we actually have somebody who had a question typed in on the feed.
Okay.
From a Robert Hoff. Y'all ever hear of the skull experiments?
Skull?
Skull.
Skull.
SCOLE.
I can't say I have.
I've never heard of that.
Not ringing a bell to me either.
It's dimly familiar. That's about it. It's like when he first, because I assumed he meant skull as in.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, and then SCOLE. It's like, huh?
Yeah. At first, I was thinking maybe he was meaning where you put the cover over your eyes and you have the light stimulation.
That's the Gons.
The Gons. Yeah, I couldn't remember that.
All right. Well, Robert.
If you want to enlighten us.
Yeah, if you want to tell us more about these the skull experiments, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, folks, call in 609-807-2492. We do have tickets to give away. Yep. We're gonna start with I got one to give away right now. We will have more later, but I want somebody to call in first.
In the meantime, I'm volunteering. I was telling Kevin I wanted you to try to do the Reiki thing on me.
Okay.
Just because I've never experienced it, never heard of it, and I'm I tend to be a skeptic. So if I don't feel anything, I'm not going to say that I felt something or but I want to see if.
Oh sure, sure,
what this is like, and if there's any.
See, I'd be curious too, but he's a better test subject.
Yeah.
Because while I have a degree of skepticism, it's like. No, I'm aware of energy and things like that to a point that I'm not the skeptic that he is.
I seem to have no ability with energy. We did the one.
A good friend of mine who's a very accomplished magician.
Yeah.
Who will be having on in the future, Arthur Moyer.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we were trying to do like energy manipulation and I'm like sitting there and there's like nothing happening. Like I'm not. Everybody else is like, I feel something. I feel something. I'm like, nope. I'm like, I got nothing. Yeah.
Arthur's actually very interesting, and unlike like most magicians you meet, they're like chaos magicians. No, Arthur invented his own. Basically on the premise of okay, normally when you do magic, you summon a spirit and the spirit does whatever you want. It's like, well, let's watch how the spirit does it so we can do it ourselves.
Okay.
Why have somebody else do it for us?
He's literally founded House Tremere. I just watched it. That's where this is going. This is House Tremere, the early nights.
Right. Yes, Beth.
Well, we have a response from Robert.
Oh, cool.
The school experience was using a small group to contact spirits. Example, one was they took an unopened canister of film, and when they were done, the film contained several images.
Yeah, I've heard of experiments like that before. But then again, it is a bit general. You're kind of describing every experiment with mediumship and spiritualism going back for over 100 years now.
That I can only read what is on the.
Yeah.
So,
it's probably
that's why
one
it's
of
like
many that
certainly experiments
I haven't heard of.
And there's been some very interesting results with that kind of thing. There's a study, and I forget the name, the particulars of it. That's really interesting. They did further back in like the heyday of the Rhine Institute and everything, where they did the usual like table tipping, except instead of trying to contact any spirit or contact like Elvis or somebody that they knew who was dead, they decided to make up their own spirit. Like gave him a name, gave him a background, just fabricated everything collectively, and they still got results. Which, from a skeptical standpoint, there's certainly explanations for that with the nature of table tipping.
Sure.
And it's like what do they call it? Ideomotor effect. But it draws some other interesting questions about, well, sometimes I've known other people who've done it in better conditions and they still get contact to something that shouldn't, but chaos magic, there are people that do magic to try to contact Cthulhu. And Cthulhu doesn't exist. The people doing the magic know that Cthulhu doesn't exist. It seems to work anyway.
Isn't it like the Slender Man?
Urban legend.
Urban legend.
Yeah.
Well,
That may not be an urban legend so much.
Well,
anymore.
it started off as a contest that somebody made something up for, and it took on kind of a life of its own.
Make these old timey, create basically an urban legend out of photographs.
More internet legend, like certain memes and what have you.
Yeah.
In that regard, and I actually had something else I wanted to say, and I forgot.
Well, what were you going to say, Chuck?
No, I was going to say I've actually had people, like I like to go to Monmouth Battlefield, which is a lot of forest and woods where I go investigating. And I've had several people over the years, email me and tell me you better watch out because Slender Man hangs out in the woods. And I'm like, I don't think he's going to be in Monmouth Battlefield, but thank you for the warning.
And he's big on kids, not on adults.
Well, that's who does everything for them. And the other thing I was going to say, in addition to the Cthulhu comment you were making earlier, Kevin, is that if Cthulhu was actually doing it, it wouldn't go the way it's supposed to.
No.
That wouldn't be chaos.
Also, along the same lines, is because the chaos magic isn't what you think necessarily. It's the idea of using personally important symbols and trying to tap into cultural symbols and icons. So you might use Cthulhu. You might even use like Superman, Batman, things like that.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And
we
they
are
claim
here
to get
to summon
results.
the spirits of Batman.
That would be kick-ass.
It's just like a spirit just like drops down, in a shadow with like, dun, dun. All the lights go off. Like, well, we asked for it. Everybody wakes up with a black eye.
But I do certainly find, like you said, I find just about everything in this field fascinating. I know a little bit about Reiki. I know it's like, the more I listen to you talk, it's like, the less I realize I know.
I would say
can't know everything.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing if you started to give a lecture about demonology. I'd be like, man, I'm really down there. I'm still a newbie. And
Well, this is also and something I need to start looking into again is I want to start teaching classes, not because, especially because you're a large part of what got me going on this idea. Because it's not that you don't know the paranormal end of things. You do. I mean, I've talked to you. I have a rule at this show. I don't have people on I don't consider competent. So if I didn't think you knew what you're doing, you wouldn't be here.
I dodged the bullet there.
Next is coming your invitation to join the Paranormal Justice League.
Yeah. I figured we were going to get into that.
Yeah. After Kevin, tell him your thing, and then I'll tell him about the Justice
But
League.
you know ghosts well, but you don't know the demonic. And
Right.
I know I've met other investigators over the years that it's like, no, you put them in a human spirit case, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't need me to teach them how to do EVPs and things like that. But when it comes to the next step, and the book I'm still working on is entitled "When the Ectoplasm Hits the Fan," specifically for this reason. It's like there's in my opinion, dangerous lack of knowledge because people don't know how to make that jump.
Yes.
But Brian, go ahead with the Paranormal Justice League.
Well, it started based on this show. We started having people on. I forget who the first one was, but people that were actual psychics, mediums.
Was it Chris or Christopher? I think it might have been Christopher DeCesar.
It may have been, yeah. Either
Would not surprise me.
him or the guy before. But yeah, we started talking. We started equating ourselves to, like I said, imagine if we all assembled and took on cases together, and the idea just popped into my head of like, okay, so it'd be like the Justice League for
Paranormal.
for the paranormal. And I said that, and we started talking, and so of course Kevin, because he has no powers, is gonna be Batman. I'm his sidekick, so I get to be Robin apparently. Fun. Amisha is probably Batgirl.
Yeah, also a sidekick, but barely there.
But kind of just also on the other side. But yeah, but we have the guy with the ghost box, who's Iron Man. We've got the Ghost Boy, who
this Christopher.
Yeah. We got him and now you and a couple of other people. We just need a few more. You've got the healing hands and the bowls. Maybe
I'll be Doctor Strange. Even though it's a different universe, but
Dr. Fate,
Dr. Fate or the Martian Manhunter or something. Somewhere in there.
Okay.
DC has it.
We'll figure it out.
Although let's face it, the rate that we're going, Disney is going to own DC in a couple of years.
Disney's going to own everything. So
pretty much there's going to be the Disney company, which will be entertainment.
I had a question.
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
For the doubting Thomases out there,
right.
How do you make a skeptic believe in Reiki? Other than just prove it to them.
Well, in general, when it comes to a skeptic, if it's personal experience that's going to make them believe. I can sit here and talk forever about everything I've done and everybody who's had personal experience with me. But if they don't have it for themselves, to me at this point, it's like doing a brick wall. So I'll take a skeptic and I'll do the Reiki.
We're going to try that tonight.
We're going to try that tonight. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But even when you do, if I was to do Reiki on somebody and they say they don't feel anything, the worst that comes out of a Reiki session is that you're totally relaxed.
Which is always good.
It's always good. Yeah, I say it could be. At worst case, it relieves some stress, takes your mind off of things. You just lay there and you just feel everything, and it's
which is good enough. I mean, that's guided meditation a lot of times. Breathing exercises, all of that.
Well, there's also two arguments I would make because I think Gene's question is a good one, and it applies to it does apply to all of this. That this entire show falls under that category, and I personally agree with you absolutely. It's like you give me a skeptic, you give me the right house, I'll make a believer out of them real quick. I may have done that with the choice before, and the results are usually entertaining. But aside from that, it's hard. I can line up witnesses. I can play EVPs, I can show photographs. You can always find an explanation if that's what you want to do.
Right.
But especially with something like Reiki, there is the reality of, even if objectively speaking, and I'm certainly not advocating this, but objectively speaking, to play devil's advocate, if it doesn't exist, if it's manipulating a non-existent energy field, the placebo effect is very real.
Correct.
And very strong.
Sure.
I mean, it's not going to your cancer's not going to magically disappear over placebo, but they've done a ton of studies that show the belief in it will certainly help a number of things. Like even Parkinson's patients show measurable improvement in symptoms from things that by all rights shouldn't work.
Correct.
Well, and as long as you don't try to advocate, do this instead of, regular medicine and treatment, in addition to, it's kind of like, what's it going to hurt?
Yeah. Always reminds me of one of the commercials I really like with the nurse. I'm a nurse, I believe in science, but I'm also a human being, and I believe in stacking the deck, and she puts a cross in the patient's hand.
No, it's a four-leaf clover.
Or four-leaf clover?
A big metal 4-leaf clover.
I know. I got to tell you a quick story from college about the 4-leaf clover. A friend of mine's dating a girl, and he thinks, they're being intimate. And then, she told him, "No, I'm using birth control. I'm using birth control." The next morning, he's looking around. He doesn't see anything, and he goes, "I thought you said you were using birth control." And she had a rabbit's foot on the corner of her bed and said, "That's my birth control."
There you go.
I actually have something to contribute as far as the whole working medical science and then Reiki. It's actually not my source, my mom's.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom essentially doesn't have cartilage in her one leg or in her one knee. Essentially, that's basically what it feels like. So it's essentially just bone on bone.
Yeah.
From what she told me of it. So when this was back around 10 years ago now, one of the people that she was hanging out with at that point in time happened to practice Reiki, and she's like, I can work on you. And there were a couple of other things, energy-wise, that were causing other issues as well, and a couple of other details I'm sure my mom doesn't want to talk want blasted. But
privacy,
yeah, but afterwards, and because of mom's thing, she was very neurotic about her weight, because the longer she could keep weight off, the longer she could keep from having to go and getting a knee replacement, because those are going to be replaced every now and then. Well, after she's had that, she has almost no issue with her knee. Like, it doesn't even act up when the weather does anything or anything like that.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
I mean, again, the skeptic will say case studies aren't evidence. But again, my point is, if it gives people benefit, even if it's a psychological benefit, and again, you said yourself, and we've all confirmed, it's like, you're not telling people, "Oh, go see a Reiki practitioner, don't see your doctor."
Yeah. You're not claiming to be able to heal all
No. In fact, when I was taking my Reiki 1, and it's something that my teacher, and I'm sure all Reiki teachers do it, they tell you it's not the cure-all. And like Amy would say, she would say, if somebody gets hit by a bus and they're out in the street bleeding, she goes, "I'll go there and put my hands on the head to give them Reiki to calm them down. But as soon as the paramedics show up, I'm out of there, because that's their job."
And that's the other thing you run into, that medical science is aware of, but there are doctors that are terrible at it in every field. But the personal touch, and one of the reasons I've seen even the most skeptical and cynical, because there's skeptics and there's cynics.
Yes.
But the cynics will even point out, it's like, just the fact that you take the time, you talk to them, you actually care and take an interest in their life and their suffering.
Yeah.
That has a measurable benefit to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have studied that kind of thing.
I will always support this. Okay, you do the medical science, let's try something else in addition to it.
Right.
The people that make my blood boil are other alternative practices that are sometimes, no, you have to stop medical science, you have to do this and this only, and it's like, oh no, we've got a problem.
Yeah, just take these apricot pits. They'll cure everything.
It's
cyanide.
What I've been asked about, what do you think about it? The faith healing and the people, they let their children die because they don't take them to a doctor, and
that's
because we put our trust in God. And I'm like, if God wanted that, there would be no such thing as a doctor. There would be no such thing as medicine. God puts doctors and medicines here on earth to treat. Of course, he has a hand in all that, because I believe he has a hand in everything. But it's not, keep your sick person at home and just give them like the apricot.
The story about the man waiting for the flood.
Oh,
hello.
Hey.
Hello.
All right, here you go.
Good evening. Welcome to the Paranormal Encyclopedia. Who's this?
Hi, Kevin. It's Ruben.
Hey,
How you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Oh, hey, you don't count.
Hey.
You're not a real caller.
I think he's covered on giving him a ticket.
Yeah.
I told Beth I was going to be today, and I forgot I had to take a friend.
Yeah.
And I almost forgot. So I said, let me call in. You guys were supporting the Healthy Radio at the reserve event.
You're cutting out a little bit there.
You're going in and out.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate that.
He's trying.
Coming to the event.
Happy. We were sorry we couldn't make it ourselves. It's just finances and timing.
Don't Skype and drive, Ruben.
Ruben, are you on Bluetooth or do you have?
I'm Bluetoothing and Skyping.
Okay.
I'm Skyping.
Just want to make sure you're not distracted.
We want you safe, honey.
Yeah. We like you. We don't want you dying.
Thank you. I was gonna think, you guys are doing a good job on the show, and
thank you.
And you guys are great. I was listening in a little bit.
You have any questions for Chuck?
I don't have too many questions. Like, I was just listening in, and me and my friend were talking while we were listening, and and then I do like going in the background, talking.
Can hear it.
Okay.
And but oh, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, this probably be right up the guy's alley, actually. I don't know if I missed it or maybe you talked about it, but they talked about the Stanley Hotel.
The what hotel? Stanley?
Hotel,
yes.
Yeah.
The one that's the basis for The Shining? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Shining. Did you guys ever think about going there?
I'd love to go there,
I'm
but
sure
it's Colorado.
Kevin's thought about it many times.
It's like, if I had the money, how about you? It's like road trip.
Oh, yeah, I would do it.
Well, there we go. See, that's what you do. One of these days, rent like a big RV and just plan like for a month, do like a nationwide road trip. Just hit all of these places.
It's actually a long tour, like bucket list thing for Amisha and I. That not for a month, for like a year, we want to rent an RV and just wander the country, checking out all these crazy sites that are out there. And yeah, that's totally on the list.
National Lampoon's Paranormal Vacation.
Well, I always,
that's what that's going to be.
See, no. I've had this idea.
I would make that movie.
I've had this idea for years, and I never saw it as that. I always thought it as it's like, no, we set it up with the cell phone, we set it up with the computer, with the internet, and it's not the National Lampoon's Paranormal Vacation. It's the Paranormal 18, because it's like, if you can find me. And I can help.
well, that's the Justice League idea. That's the more serious, where you get all of the different people together and you form like this paranormal mercenary team. That'd be awesome.
There still definitely needs to be a thing. There's got to be a convention we can get to fly everybody out.
Well, the cheap way we could at least get like T-shirts or something. We could design a logo and just get everybody like Paranormal 18.
You got to put Mystery Mobile on the RV.
Yeah, well, you have to have a
big Ghostbusters symbol on the one side.
I think that's copyrighted or trademarked. You can't use that.
I can't use it if I put it on TV, but if I'm driving around with it and if we blur it out in any pictures and whatnot, I could totally do that.
I suppose. I think it'd be funnier to get your own, like make your own symbol.
I know, but being me, it would have to have the Ghostbusters logo on it. Well, that's right. One side has the Ghostbusters logo. We can do something else with the other side.
Okay.
Nice.
But thanks for calling, Ruben.
I know, sorry, it was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, you've been breaking up. I think we're going to let you go.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't even break up. It must be New York traffic.
It happens. Don't worry about it, man.
Well, I was going to say good job, guys, and I appreciate your support and all.
And thank you.
You did a great job. And if I don't see you guys, have a Merry Christmas.
Likewise.
And if you're next week or not, have a Happy New Year.
You too.
You too.
All right. Talk to you.
Have a good night.
Oh, that reminds me of a meme I saw on Facebook that was pretty good. It was pretty much somebody had made like the Mystery Mobile van.
Okay.
You know, in real life, they had painted
I've
it up.
seen that once or twice.
Yeah, there was that, but it was also it had the car from Supernatural, like the Winchester
The
brothers, Apollo.
The
right
Apollos?
yeah, and the meme just said, and it's like in the parking lot of like an Arby's or something. And the meme just says, something serious just went down at this Arby's.
The kicker with that is, though, one of the episodes of this season of Supernatural, they're doing a crossover for the first time with another TV show. And the TV show, I'll put it like this: the name of the episode is Scooby Natural.
Oh God! It doesn't surprise. That show has turned like kind
it's jumped the shark.
Jumped the shark years ago and turned into self-parody.
Let's be honest. It hasn't just jumped the shark. It circled around and jumped it a few more times.
Yeah.
But you know what? They do have this great thing that they do where every time that a new season starts, it's essentially, okay, new game, you're starting at level 1 each and every time. And they're actually able to continuously do that. And, because I've seen them do it a couple of times, and it's like, huh. Because it's like, okay, they had this, this, and this. How is anything else? I'm like, oh, that's how they're going to do it. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
But it's a little formulaic. You always know.
Last time I checked, they were on like a first name basis with God, and were fighting the devil himself. I'm like, I have no idea. Where can you go from here? Like, all right.
They're fighting. They're on a first name basis with God, and they're fighting God's sister, Darkness.
No.
Well, she has an actual name. I forget what it is offhand. Yeah. But
although properly, if you want to go by mythology, she'd be Nyx from Greek mythology, not the incarnation of night.
Yeah.
Depends on which mythology you're going by.
Granted.
Yeah, I mean, many cultures
they pulled little pieces of mythology, or if the mythology didn't give them enough to go by, they have pulled things completely out of their out of their sides.
Out of Sam's trunk.
Yeah. Well, no, like one of them, as an example, was we have a phone call. I'll get back to that.
Oh wow, no caller.
Hey.
Go ahead. Good evening. You're live on the air with Paranormal Encyclopedia. Who are we talking to?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I'm calling in.
Yes. How you doing tonight?
Yeah. My name is Marcia Kessler, and I've been listening to some of these paranormal conversations, getting me a little bit worked up. I'm going to tell you, I wanted to let you know.
Go ahead. You can turn the
you need to turn
down, please.
Turn what you're watching
Only a trained demonologist to be messing with the demons. You're playing with fire.
I would normally agree with you, but I've been doing this for 20 years and was trained by one of the best.
A trained demonologist to be messing with the demons.
Marcia, you need to turn off the web page or whatever you're listening to. It's just creating an echo.
Sir?
Yes?
I could care less if you did it for 20 years.
Do you know who Lou Gentili was?
You need to be talking
do you know who Lou Gentili
more
was?
with the priests that do the exorcism.
Yeah, I've worked with them too.
If you do any type...
Do you know who Lou Gentili was? Answer the question. Have you answered the question? Do you know who Lou Gentili was?
Yes, I do.
Do you know who Lou's last student?
I have not heard of you before.
You know who?
But yes,
really?
I do.
You ever listen to the Lou Gentili show back when it was on the air? I spent 10 years doing that show. I was trained by Lou. I was his right hand man. If you know anything about him, you should know me.
I'm hearing you.
I've worked with exorcists. I've worked with demonologists. I have been trained to do what I do. I am by no means an amateur.
Don't know you at all.
Do your homework, lady.
I don't live in Jersey. I don't know you.
You have access to the internet. Look up Kevin Mears. MEARES.
Then if you were trying to do what you're doing, you should be watching what you're saying on the air. Period.
Regarding what? Okay, I've had enough of this. Kill her.
Well, that was fun. Our first irate caller. All right.
Hardly an irate, and the thing is, it's not as even within this room. Kevin is completely unprotected from anything. I mean, look who you have behind the. Well, the people at home can't see me, but hi, you have somebody that does energy work and knows a little bit about what's going on and can assist with anything if needed.
And
well,
Kevin just did
to
a
be
blessing
fair,
in the radio station not that long ago.
Tuesday.
Well, and to be fair, Kevin has never, to my knowledge, Kevin has never said, hey, you should go out and do this. I mean, everything he's ever said about demons is don't go anywhere near them. So he's never.
Yeah, I think that was
encouraged
what her
anybody
problem
else.
was, is that she felt like we were encouraging people to go out and do this, and it's like that's not a good idea.
I think I know exactly what her problem is, which has been a long-running problem I have with a certain branch of Christianity, which is many Christians who think they know demonology think you have to do it exactly our way or you're working with the devil.
Oh.
And I think that is probably the problem, is because that particular branch of Christianity in particular would not want me to have a Reiki practitioner on the show or mediums on the show. And yeah, that's usually, to be blunt, that's somebody who doesn't know much about what they're talking about. Because I'll tell you now from experience, Lou, I did a radio show with Lou with 10 years. We had Reiki practitioners on. We had psychics on. Lou was trained by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine Warren is a medium. Yeah. I've worked with priests. I've worked with exorcists. I've been the guy that exorcists come to and ask for advice because I've been doing this long enough and I've done my homework.
And that's how I met. I'm sorry. That's how I met Kevin, because I had a case which involved a demonic. But that's out of my league, so I contacted somebody, and she put me in touch with Kevin, and Kevin was giving me good information until the client decided to run back to somebody else, but we'll have that story later.
I was about to say, I think that was probably a good time to talk about markets.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and additionally, something you were also mentioning, a lot of people in general, when it comes to like how you have to do something a certain way, like how she was going on, you had to be like an actual trained demonologist and bashing.
Well, she was thinking you need a priest. Like
you don't
if
need
you're not a priest,
you don't need
then
necessarily
you're not
a priest.
Well, that's what she was saying.
Having somebody who's trained in general is a good idea.
Yes.
Now, in particular, a lot of the formulations that a lot of different groups have are piecemeal, and the way that they're put together is not nuanced enough for certain things. They're essentially a catch-all, and even then they're badly done and can, in certain cases, get easily broken out by whatever you're using it on.
And Beth is 100% right. There's a reason I involve the people in my show that I do. I like to work with people I know have an idea of what they're talking about, and Beth absolutely does. I agree with everything she just said.
Not me. I'm the exception to that.
Well, you're very good at what you do. It's just you're not a paranormal guy.
No, not really. I'm here mostly for fun and to learn.
Well,
But
that's the thing.
In defense, I will say also Kevin has never handed me a Ouija board and said, "Here, Brian, go nuts. Have fun summoning a demon. It'll be a blast."
In a large part, I agree with her general point of there are a lot of people in the paranormal community. And again, I'm not trying to badmouth people, but the thing that's on TV that most people have experience with and have always had experience with is ghosts. And it's great to, and by any means, I never mean to badmouth people that just go hunt ghosts. It's a great thing to do. I sort of wish at times that I could just stick to the ghosts, because I'm doing this because I'm supposed to be doing this, not necessarily because I think it's fun to talk to people possessed by demons. But if you're out on a case that you think is a ghost, and then you realize this is either not a ghost or is the most pissed off caster I've ever met, you need to know what to do.
Really
I do wonder, though, she said, and you need to be watching what you say if you know what you're doing. I'm wondering what in particular did she have a problem with?
It might have been something from a previous show. It sounded like she had listened to maybe more than one of these.
Yeah.
And maybe she just thought that we were being a little too fast and loose with talking about the demons and stuff.
But the thing is, too, if you're recounting things of how you learned a lesson, or
Yeah.
things like that, it's like, this is how you learn.
Yeah.
And so it seems more like, because especially with our guest last week, who was going about how he was learning, what he could do, and it was all trial and error.
And you learn more from when you screw up. To paraphrase a popular character for the most recent Star Wars movie, we learn more from our mistakes.
Well, that's something that's been said for a
Yeah.
long time.
I know, but I had to
before.
reference Star Wars.
Yeah, you had to bring that in somehow.
Star Wars!
Anyway, so
He's a nerd.
you're right. This is a good chance for him to tell that story about how not to conduct a paranormal investigation.
Yes.
That's an awesome
In the light
story.
of Marcus.
Yes, and we're only going to use the name Marcus. I don't want to give this guy any free advertising. Absolutely none whatsoever.
I don't want to directly bash his story.
Of course, now I'm just thinking, one thing to know about, the ghost hunting is never use the Ouija board, because I think of that meme that everybody tags Kevin in, and Ouija board.
You want demons? This is how you'll get demons.
Yeah, the Archer thing of, you want demons? This is how you get demons.
That's exactly what it is. Like, we had a Ouija board, and it was the beat up. It wasn't even like one of the nice older ones or anything like that. This was a crappy, Milton Bradley run of the mill Ouija
Parker
board.
Brothers.
Same thing, no different.
Okay, we're adding a specific talk about Ouija boards to the January schedule.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need to have a rant.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, yeah.
But let's talk Marcus.
Okay, so how this started was, it was back in the summer, around late July, early August, and I was contacted by a couple that lived locally. A wonderful elderly couple. As elderly, they were in their mid-60s, I would say. They reached out to me. The lady was having something bother her for over 2 years. She lived in a different town, had moved down to where I live. She had other paranormal teams and even a paranormal celebrity I don't want to mention, but apparently she wasn't thrilled with him either. Everybody comes in, they say, oh, she's got something going on. Everybody does the standard cleansings, things light up for a while, and then it goes back to everything. She was getting scratched, bruises, furniture was being damaged. So it wasn't like whatever she had wasn't very nice. So she contacted me, and I stayed on my website, for the lady who called. I specifically state that I cannot promise I can banish anything, because nobody can make that promise.
No, the best exorcist in the world can't banish everything.
Right. So, I said the best I can do is come see, determine, do you have activity, or is it something that we can explain through natural causes? So I go to the house, we're doing a preliminary investigation, and she's telling me about everybody who had been there. And the last person that she said she had there was this guy named Marcus. And Marcus apparently channels in, she said Marcus got rid of this thing and everything was great, but now the activity's happening again. Plus, her ex-husband had a nurse practitioner put a voodoo spell on her. They caused her health to go south afterward because she wouldn't give him money, but that's neither here nor there. So Marcus.
Oh, it's related.
Yes. So she's telling me about it. So Marcus shows up at the house, and this is the timeline after 3 trips there, because they would only tell me a little bit of information at a time.
Yeah.
They find Marcus. They contact him. He comes to the house. He says, as he's coming down the street, he goes, "Oh, well, when I was a block away, I could sense you had what's called a wraith, and you have a wraith in your house." So he goes, "But don't worry, I can get rid of it, because he claims he channels in the supreme wraith, the wraith of all wraiths. And this wraith of all wraiths is here at this time taking form in a human body, because no wraith is supposed to be here on Earth, so he's here to kill them all. Why he's here in New Jersey when there's wraiths all over the world, I don't know." He tells the client right off the bat, this wraith is here to kill her. So
this
now
is
she's
like a Mary Sue waiting to happen.
Oh,
This is terrible storytelling, even as a backstory for this guy.
It gets worse.
It gets so much
How?
worse. Oh,
Listen.
Believe me.
This guy started as a role-playing character, I swear.
This couldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it
Beginner
gets
role players
worse.
are not this bad.
No, it's
Wait, never
even
mind.
worse.
No,
It's
I've
even
met
worse.
long-term players that are worse than this.
And I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons 20 years, and it's not
Yes!
even close to this.
There we go.
Excellent, one of us.
One of us. One of us.
We accept you. We accept
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Okay, we'll have to have a word about that off air.
So Marcus says, "Oh, I can get rid of this thing for you." So he said. So they told me the first part of the story is that he pulled out his sword. The wraith lives in the garage, and he's going to go in the garage and kill it. So I'm thinking, he's talking about pulling out like the mystical, spiritual sword of God. No, he came in with the giant 6-foot case and pulled out an actual sword, a real sword with the blade and the whole nut, the hilt and everything. He goes into the garage, he swings the thing around for 15, 20 minutes, comes out, his clothes are all messed, he's sweating like a dog.
Because he was swinging a sword.
Because he's swinging a sword
Giant
around, and he
sword
goes,
around.
"All right, it's dead, I've killed the wraith." And it's like, why is this wraith here? Well, the wraith was here to kill you, and the supreme wraith, his mission was, humans are not supposed to see wraiths. We are not supposed to see them, and because of the internet today, a person in the U.S. can take a picture of a wraith and put it online, and somebody in Germany can see it in 10 seconds. But in the meantime, he draws a picture of what the wraith looks like, a 12-foot being, and shows it to her. And I'm like, if humans are not supposed to see what the
Why
wraith, why did you just show it to her?
All of the facepalm I've been doing.
Yeah.
And it still gets worse. So then she says, well, I have this voodoo curse on me. And he goes, all right, well, we can take care of that another time. And so he's going to do that. So he makes another, they call him, he comes back and he makes another trip out there. But now he needs the house for 24 hours. Initially, I thought it was overnight. They go into their nice-sized kitchen, and he takes blue chalk or something, and he draws a giant circle and all these crazy shapes and weird things on the throughout their whole kitchen. And I said, did he draw a pentagram? And they said, no, he drew all these crazy symbols and writings and stuff like that, because he has to sit in the center of the circle to get rid of the voodoo curse. Plus, he had a feeling the wraith might be trying to come back, the one he said he killed.
But he killed it.
But he killed it. So they have to leave the house for 24 hours because things can get really violent and he doesn't want them to be affected.
Minor sidebar, how dead does a wraith have to be to stop coming back? Seriously?
That is
How
only
many times do
mostly
I have
dead.
to kill you? Once or twice.
One,
Tis but a flesh wound.
what is dead can never die.
But then before they left, he's got to bring his video game system into the house and rearrange the furniture in the living room because he has to set up his video game. And I'm doing the same thing when they're telling me the story. I'm sitting there like, I'm not listening. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Now, I know that there's people out there thinking, and I would be the same way, if somebody showed up in my house doing this stuff for an investigation, I'd say, get the F out of here.
Yeah.
But these people, I'm telling you, she was so desperate and at the bottom of her rope, she would take anything. Which
That's what you have to
imagine
understand. These people get this desperate.
They do. Yeah, she was really this desperate because she showed me the photographs. I saw her skin where she was getting all the bruises. They were very sincere. So I without a doubt that I felt that there was something there. Actually, when we were walking around, we had opened up a closet door and when she opened the door, this wave of weird energy came out and went through me. And I was like, all right, there's something definitely here because that's not normal. It's not like warm wind or something. It's like an energy that goes through you. But anyhow, so he sets up his video game system, and because he needs something to do in between his time of curse killing and swinging the sword. So they
How about actually resting and preparing yourself mentally like you're supposed to do?
Yeah, that would be the rational thing to do.
Well, additionally, you're not supposed to be taking it in steps. You're supposed to get it all done in one shot.
So then they disappear for 24 hours. The next morning they call him up and they say, is it safe to come back to the house again? Oh yeah, everything's gone. The curse is gone. The wraith is gone. But I need you to stop at Burger King on the way home and bring me some food because I'm hungry. So they come to the house. They give him his food. He says everything's taken care of. And then he leaves, but he leaves that big blue chalk mess on the floor. And these people in their 60s now have to get on their hands and knees and for an hour scrub the floor to clean that all up.
And they went back to him?
Well, then what happened was then she started getting scratched and everything again.
Yeah.
So then he told her, he said, oh, I can't do, the problem is you have a poltergeist and you're making it up out of your head. So the only way you're going to be able to get rid of it is you have to see a psychologist. And then vanished.
Oh.
And on his website, he claims once he banishes something, it's gone forever. Now, while she's telling me this story, then she said before she contacted me, she contacted a guy named Barry from Ocean County. And I'm like, I know a Barry from Ocean County. And he's got a team. And I said, I know a Barry from Ocean County with a team. And then she says she called him and explained the story. And when she mentioned Marcus's name, Barry says, I'm not coming. I'm sorry. I want nothing to do with that guy. So the next day I contact Barry. And I said, Barry, do you know anything about this guy named Marcus? And he goes, Chuck, don't get involved with this guy. He's either delusional at best or a scam artist. I don't know what his deal is, but he's a complete mess. So I explained that I'm now with these clients who contacted him. So the story he told me was that there was a family down in Ocean County that called Marcus to go in. Mother, kids, elderly people. Marcus shows up and he says, oh, you've got a demon in the house, which freaks everybody out. But the demon's in the basement. I'll go get rid of it. So he goes down into the basement. And in the process of getting rid of the demon, he opens a portal, and now the house floods with spirits. So now the demon might be gone, but now there's like spirits.
There's 20 more.
There's 20 more in the house causing all types of problems. They call Marcus, you need to come back. Now we have all these spirits in the house. And then supposedly he told the client, well, you've got too many spirits for me to deal with, so you're just going to have to learn how to live with it. So then they call Barry. Barry goes in there. They have to find the portal, seal it, get rid of the spirits, which took a little time. They had a priest to come in and do the proper blessing for the previous caller, get rid of all the residue and stuff. But then it was now another 8 months of cleaning up the psychological damage that had been done to the family. Because now every little, tap on the wall or the settling, it's the spirits doing this stuff. And Barry was telling me, he said they were texting and emailing and calling all the time. And, it took 8 months to finally convince them and give them tools for them to do themselves like you did for me.
Mm-hmm.
So while she's telling me all this, I ended up doing a full cleanse. I brought the bowls in because the bowls can be used to do a cleansing also. I did the bowls for that. I came in and I did the prayers. I did the full-blown cleansing of the house, each room one by one, sage, Reiki, crystals, prayers, the whole 10 yards. And then for like 3 days, everything was fine. Then it came back again. So then I contacted Karen, who said, you need to contact Kevin, because it was a Jewish family. So Kevin gave me all these prayers to use. I typed out all the Psalms. These are powerful things. I gave them to her, but as soon as I showed them the prayers, they're like, I said, what's the matter? She goes, because we've done the prayers. And now because of what Marcus had done, now what I need to do to help them empower themselves, it's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So after my last trip there, I said, there's nothing further I can do with this. I said, unless we can bring in the rabbi specialized, like you said, I said, that's the only way to get rid of it. But she was convinced the religious stuff is not going to work.
We do have another caller.
Okay.
You want to try?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, callers. Thank you for calling Paranormal Encyclopedia. You're on the air. Hello?
Looks like somebody from Philly.
Who hung up?
Somebody with a wrong number.
Might have been the wrong
Probably.
number. I'll give the number again real quick. And remember, we do have those tickets to see a comedian in Atlantic City. 609-807-2492. 609-807-2492. In the meantime, I do want to comment on the feces storm that is Marcus.
But just to finish up real quickly, so then after my last visit there, we had a few more text exchanges, and then she told me that she was contacting Marcus again to bring him back, and they were bringing another paranormal team in. And then, my medium friends who I was having read in it, like I showed them a picture of Marcus without even saying anything, and they there's something totally wrong with this person or something. One person said, I see 2 faces coming off of him, so they said, Chuck, cut your losses, get out of that, because if she's going back to Marcus, it's going to be a lost cause.
And it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse and drag me down in it. And I said, yeah. I said,
And
I felt really, really bad for these people. I really, really wanted to help them. But, like you said, they're at their wits' end, they're desperate, and now they're willing to go back to somebody who, for a few weeks they did say they had some relief after Marcus was there, but then it was all back down the hill again.
So here's the deal with Marcus, because I know I've run into this type of person before, and he has all hallmarks of it. He's not I hate to say it, but he's not a charlatan. What he's doing is real. It's just what he's doing has nothing to do with God. Even that's more complicated. So there's a very old form of magic. Goes back. The forms that we mostly know go back into the Middle Ages, certainly, although it's inspired by at least works that go back older than that, called the Goetia. For our listeners who don't know, the Goetia is also sometimes known as the Lesser Key of Solomon the Mage. And yes, this would be Solomon from the Bible. King Solomon split the baby in half. According to Jewish tradition, Solomon prayed to God for wisdom and was given 3 gifts. He was given the Seal of Solomon, which is a ring with a star on it and a name on it. And the name is the second gift, which is called the Tetragrammaton, which is the true name of God. And then the third gift was a book, the Key of Solomon. Also, sometimes the Testament of Solomon is known by a whole bunch of names. And it was a book of knowledge of good and evil in a very complete sense, up to and including how to summon demons. But because Solomon was the wisest of all earthly kings and had ordination from God and certain things, he could do that. Because of Jewish tradition and scholarship being very important, he passed the knowledge down so it wouldn't be lost. He didn't pass it down for people to play with it. The reality is, people love to poke the bear with a stick.
I don't even think this is with a stick. I think this is with a stake.
yeah. I mean, it's just quite right. And it's got the form that's
that's
most
not
well
a dragon, that's a titan.
Yeah. That's most well known, which is the Goetia was definitely not written by Solomon. There are older versions that might have been, because certainly the oldest known reference to it's around the 1st century, AD or current era, as you prefer. But this one comes from the Middle Ages. It's connected with Dr. John Dee, who's a fascinating guy in his own right. I mean, he was a magician and astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I. He was a spy master. He wrote down in Enochian, which is supposed to be the language of the angels, believe it or not. And then it was ultimately most versions you find in the United States were translated by Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man who ever lived. It is a book of how to summon demons, and it has a lot of very complicated symbols, which is most likely what he drew in blue chalk.
Okay.
It also is high ceremonial magic, which often involves the use of a sword. There are not Christian, but there are actually some magical and religious blessing rituals. The Japanese religion of Shinto, for example, when they bless a house, they wave a katana around.
Right.
So there is some legitimacy to see to this, but this is a guy who's gotten a hold of this theory. As I've talked about on the show before, there's a couple of different types of demonologists in the world. This guy does what I do from the opposite end. I come in and I bring the light of God and bring angels. He comes in and he brings demons. What he calls the supreme or king of wraiths.
And the thing he told the clients too was he said that this wraith is a servant of God, which I said there is no servant of God that is a wraith. No. And then they said they would ask him questions on history, and either he spends a lot of time research. I don't. Maybe there is something that channels through him, but on his
demons
website,
know a lot of history.
Yeah,
They've been around for it.
But on his website, he claims that he's a fully trained demonologist. He's a fully trained
I want to know
exorcist,
by who.
and he's in his early 20s. But he doesn't. He lists no sources for that. And I'm like,
he went to the demonology votech.
It's like
he's a fully licensed demonologist.
I'm a trained demonologist. I can tell you who trained me, and I can tell you who finished the training when Lou passed away, which would be the late Pastor Joseph Brose, who just passed away last year. It's like, and there's also, I'm very much of the. If you want to know if I know what I'm talking about, listen to what I say and make a judgment from there. This guy is summoning up spirits to throw out spirits, and he's making things worse.
Yes.
Especially if you don't know what you're supposed to be channeling, which also sounds like he's going in roughshod.
Yeah.
And is just essentially throwing all the energy at all the things and is not being mindful of what he's drawing back.
I think what he's doing is worse. I think it's not just he's throwing energy at them. There is a school of thought, particularly within Goetia, that the way to get rid of a demon is you summon a bigger demon to throw it out. And I think,
as we pointed out, it's kind of the spiritual equivalent of inviting a serial killer to get rid of the cat burglar.
Right.
Yep.
And when you look at the fact that the case escalated, I mean, she started with a demon in her house. Now she's got a bloody portal in her house. He's summoning something. It's not certainly there. You can mess around with energy, which will bring its own problems. And then there's being really stupid at summoning demons into a house.
Additionally, because it also sounds like he doesn't know what he's supposed to be summoning, because the entire concept of bring something in bigger.
He's been bamboozled as well.
Because the whole thing is, and we learn this from various sources of media, like pick your flavor, anime, gaming, fantasy books, even history. Just because you are physically and just sheer strength the biggest, guy on the block, doesn't mean you're going to win against something that's smaller than you just because it's smaller. If it's smarter, there's another matter.
Exactly.
In other case, this guy just sounds like a wreck.
I think what happened is he most likely summoned something he aside from the fact that it's a bad idea to summon something he had no hope of controlling. Because when I say bigger, I definitely mean the hierarchy. Hell has, I like to think of it as a hierarchy instead of a hierarchy. hierarchy's the angels, hell's the other way. But he summoned one of the bigger muckety mucks that had. They summoned the muckety mucks that had the princes and the archdevils and things like that have the authority to get rid of things. But you got rid of the one and you've opened the door to the other. And that, again, it's the bottom line is demonology and magic are not playthings. Don't go poking things with sticks or stakes if you don't know what you're doing.
On that note, the Paranormal Justice League just found its first supervillain. Yeah, it's shaping up.
Not for nothing. Pagan producer, he could probably wham you.
Let's see, who's the most inept supervillain that it still manages to give the superheroes a headache?
They're like half of Spider-Man's rogue gallery.
Sounds like Frostback from Champions
bumbling
Online.
idiots.
I think we can teach Brian enough to throw this guy for a loop. I'll put it like this: you're a bad example because you have some idea of what you're doing. We got to pick the guy who has no idea what he's doing, and we can teach him enough to beat this guy.
Which I think is a decent segue. You were going to do some demonstrations. We only have about 35 minutes left.
Oh yeah, we should.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay, so we'll get to the bowls real quick, but because we got cut off from so many tangents. Of course, it's
what doesn't answer the show?
That's what we
You
do.
can always come back. We promise.
I was about to say, Chuck, consider this your official invitation to come back.
Oh, thank you.
You can come back another
You've
time.
been a phenomenal guest so
thank
far.
you.
And it's always nice to have somebody actually in the studio. Usually we're talking to the monitor over there.
I'm worried about the technical glitch.
But
real quickly, after my encounter with what they call the twin flame, which I refer to as the twin soul, and I was told gifts were going to happen. So then, not long afterward, I had a past life experience, but I'll save that for another show because that takes a while to tell. Then all of a sudden, I wake up one day and it says I have to learn how to make wire wrap jewelry. It's like. You remember the Demolition Man? You saw the Demolition Man movie. Remember when Stallone? He's sitting there watching TV and he starts knitting, and then when he's in the car, and he goes, "Why am I knitting? Why am I doing all this?" And then they say, "Oh, well, Simon Phoenix, he learned murder, death, kill, and computer hacking and everything." And he goes, "Oh, great, Phoenix knows all this," and he goes, "And I've become a seamstress." And it's basically that's my analogy for it because I wake up and it's like, it's not like I wake up and say, I feel like having toast for breakfast. It's like. I have to learn how to do this. I don't know anything about making jewelry, and it stays in me and me. So I got to go to the craft store and I start doing the stuff to start making. Some of this is my work.
Very nice.
Very
Thank you. So then a year later, we're coming up on my 50th birthday. Now all of a sudden, the next thing downloaded to my head is you have to learn how to make bread. I'm like, why do I got to learn how to make bread for? So for my 50th birthday, I told Andrea, she goes, "What do you want for your 50th birthday? Something really extravagant." And I want a KitchenAid mixer.
Nice.
So she gets me the KitchenAid mixer so I can make bread. I haven't made bread in a while because too many carbs in the house and it's not good.
I'm sort of inclined to think we need to invite Andrea next time. I want to see what it's like living with you.
Oh yeah, that's the other. That's gonna be the fun part.
She got some stories.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
So then after that, it was the crystal healing bed. I couldn't bring that with me, but it's there's a fellow named John of God who does the hands-on healing. He's from Brazil. I'm at an expo, and there's what's called a John of God bed, which is a bunch of lights that light up, and they channel in.
I have heard of this, in fact.
So I see that, and I said, I want to have one of those. That's really cool. $3,000, and you have to contact John of God, get his permission on it. Not happening. I see it a couple of months later, same thing. But then now all of a sudden the thing goes off in my head, build your own. I'm like, how do I build my own? So to make a long story short, I had to learn how to get the right crystals. I had to learn how to program LED programmable lights. I had to learn how to use an Arduino. I had to learn how to create the language to make the Arduino, make the lights do its thing. And I'm like, oh my God. Then we go to November of last year, the next thing on the list, and during one of our meditation groups at the Reiki Hensiff Open Old Bridge.
Right near us, in fact.
Huh?
That's right near Misha and I.
Oh, okay. That's right, because Matawan, yeah. It's on Old Matawan Road. One of the ladies brings in one of the bowls, like the crystal bowls. I'm like, oh, I've seen the Tibetan bowls that play the metal and everything. I've never really had any connection with that. I didn't feel anything. She opens it up, she tings it, and it's like you feel that vibration through it. And I'm like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, it's like the cosmic 2x4 swats me in the head again. And says, you're going to learn how to do this, and not only do this, but you're going to get the 7 bowls, one tune, specifically tuned with a musical note for each chakra for cleansing, balancing, and everything. He said you're going to learn how to play these, and you're going to do meditations for people on that. That's going to be your next step. And then so for the past year at the Hands of Hope office, on Tuesday nights, I've been playing the bowls for people. People come in, I charge $5, so I play for 45 minutes. And everybody seems to have a different experience with the bowls. Some people fall asleep, they come out refreshed. Some people feel real hot afterward. The person next to them can feel real cold. It's a release of energy and blockages. Some people feel like they're having out-of-body experience. Some people have visions. Everybody seems to have a different experience with it, but everybody 100% come out feeling a lot better after the session's over with. Actually, when I'm done, I kind of feel guilty about telling people it's over with because everybody's so peacefully relaxed.
It's like, oh man, can we keep going?
Can we keep going? Yeah. So
5 more minutes.
So I don't know what the universe is going to smack me in the head with next. It's probably going to be demonology. Andrea's saying no demonology, no. So yeah, so I set the bowls up on the floor. So I'll play for a few minutes to give you an example of what it's like. Again, the bowls I have range from 8 inches, the 2 smaller bowls to the right. Then they go to 10 inches and then 12 inches. And each bowl is for a particular chakra, from the crown at the top of your head to the root down just below your belly button. So I find when you play, the bowls have an effect on your whole body, but let's say the heart bowl, the center bowl, you may feel more of a vibration or resonance in that area while I'm playing that bowl. And it's a funny thing too, because for some people, like, you might think, you might hear the crown bowl, you go, oh, that's really soothing. And then I might get to the heart bowl and you're going to be, yeah, I don't care for that, because sometimes the different chakra might need work. But then the next week I could play that heart bowl and you're going to go, oh, that sounds so much different this week. But last week I didn't like it, but this week it feels good, because now maybe this week that part of your body needed work for whatever stresses you had during the week or aggravations that you picked up from wherever you were at work, out in public.
You're taking in the scientific curiosity on my end. Like, okay, I'm interested in, even more interested than before in all this.
Yeah. And just a real quick thing, because after I gave the lecture at the Para X Expo, when I did a lecture on the bowls, one thing I had stated to people, some people had asked, oh, do I have to take a class how to learn this? And I said, no, you don't have to. How I learned was I got the bowls, I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and in 5 minutes I was playing. Really? Yeah, you don't have to take, it's not like, the violin or something, because that's the equivalent of basically like your finger around the wine glass. You don't need to take a class for that either. There are people that offer classes, and I don't knock it. If you don't feel comfortable learning on YouTube, then, take a class with somebody and learn how to do it properly, because I kind of messed up in the beginning on one of the handles. There's two strikers, as they're called, the suede rod, or one with a wooden handle with a rubber mallet. And when I first got the bowls, I was taking the wooden handle and running it around the rim. And my friend Steve Lewis, because he uses them in Australia, he said, Chuck, don't do that. You're gonna destroy the bowls that way. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, that's something I learned that they didn't teach on the YouTube videos.
That's a rather important thing.
Yeah. But afterward, when I was back at my table and I had the bowl set up, a lady came by and she said, oh, are you selling those? I said, no, I do a meditation with them, so I just put them out for display. And she said that there was a class that she was going to sign up for someplace in New York, and they were going to charge her $2,000 to learn how to play that. I said, don't even waste your money. For $2,000, you could get a nice set of 7 bowls and you could learn yourself.
Yeah, I was about to say, I certainly hope that it comes with the 7 bowls.
That was my question.
Those look expensive.
I'm not going to ask you to put exact numbers on, but a ballpark on how much you're setting yourself up for this.
There are specialty sites on the website, on if you go to like a regular shop, you're going to pay more, obviously, because they have to charge a higher price for the overhead and everything. And so I said, I'm not like one of the 10-inch bowls would run like around $250, $300. So that's a little bit out of my price range, since the universe is saying buy 7 bowls. So I look on Amazon. All right, now it's a little bit better. Now we're running like $600 or $700 for the set. Then I went on eBay, And one of the same people selling on Amazon was selling on eBay for around 500. So I said, all right, I'll go with them. Now, the only danger in that is because they tell you want to play the bowl before you purchase it because you want to see if it feels good. I could have bought these 7 bowls and start playing them and go, these sound like crap.
And you're out $500.
And then about $500. But they were very good. I'd recommended these to some of my friends who got them, and they said the bowls sound great. I think more so for the Tibetan bowls, because I went out and bought a 4-inch Tibetan bowl. Actually, I have it over there for the expo to use it for demonstration purposes. And I think I paid $15 for it. But the bowl, if you ting it, it sounds fine. But trying to run the rim around it, it's horrible. But if I had paid $70 or $80 for that bowl in the store, I would have been completely aggravated about it. So,
well, if you'd done it in the store, you could actually attest to it. And also, maybe a part of me just wonders if it's a $17 bowl, maybe you got what you paid for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they tell you. Yeah, but these are just
Made
standard.
in Taiwan.
But I have to say that's a lot more economical. I mean, $500 is still $500. It's more economical than I would have expected.
Well, it's less than $100 a bowl, so that's something.
Listening to them, and when you demonstrated them for us a bit before we got started, and just looking at them, they're really neat pieces.
Well, just the fact that they're made of crystal is pretty.
Yeah, it's 99% quartz crystal, and the real quick interesting thing about the bowls is they really didn't start getting involved with meditation practices, I think, until late 70s, early 80s. The bowls were actually made for making silicon chips for computers in the 70s. That's what the bowl did, because they needed a pure quartz environment to grow the silicon in.
Gotcha.
And then if the bowls were damaged, they would recycle them. And I don't know, maybe it was just one day somebody grabbed the bowl and they tinged it and they said, oh, that sounds nice. And then,
somebody had to just go, hey, I wonder what happens if I do this.
Well, I mean, it's the same way how somebody figured out that you could make music with wine glasses and stuff and champagne. Somebody saw it and thought, oh, wonder if.
Yeah, I more imagine that was out of boredom one day. Just that you're listening to somebody drone on and on. You're not really interested in what they're saying.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing, when you go back to the Tibetan bowls, like they didn't even start picking up in the West until late 60s, early 70s, when tourists started bringing them back from Nepal and Tibet.
I want to say Reiki itself started in the U.S. around early 20th century?
Yeah, some people go over to Asia, soldiers, and then they end up bringing it back with them, or some Japanese
I remember
people
reading, because I did a little research a while back, it was a Japanese Buddhist monk, if memory serves, that first properly introduced it to the West.
Right.
And I've even seen some of the more skeptical sites argue he basically, saying that there's some inspiration in Eastern philosophy, but basically he started it here.
Yeah, I don't know the full story for that. I forget that you learn these things. It's like trying to remember 5th grade calculus to teach my daughter.
Yeah.
I don't remember all that stuff.
There's so much. It's like I try to learn a little of everything, but there's so much to learn.
Yes, you could spend a long time learning it, and that's the universe says don't worry about that.
So why don't we get with the demonstration, since we are coming up on the end?
Oh yes, I'll do this.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll play a little bit of each of the bowls separately, just to give you a taste what it sounds like. Again, it'll start from the roots on the far left, largest bowl, circular round to the last bowl, which is the crown. So we're going to work our way up, and then I'll play a combination of 2 bowls at once, which you can do, and I'm going to do a little bit of ringing and tapping, because there's a difference between the two that you'll hear. And I also have a couple of crystal pyramids, which are made of pure quartz also, but a different resonance, but they sort of work on the same principle that the bowls do. So I'll go ahead and jump in.
Thank you so much. I'm incredibly excited by this.
Yeah, Gene's adjusting the microphone there so we can get the best.
Just to be on the
if you
safe
fall
side.
asleep while I'm playing this, it's quite okay.
Number 7.
Just make sure you're in a safe area.
Yeah, if you're driving, you may want to pull over.
I'll say, so I'm just going to do a little tap around just to show what each bowl is. This is a C note for the root. This is a D note for the sacral chakra.
Beautiful.
This is the E note for the solar plexus. This is the F note for the heart, which is the bowl that got me started. This is the G note for the throat chakra. This is A note for the third eye. And then finally, the B note for the crown. And you don't have to put that much pressure on the stick. Although with this one, sometimes it jumps. You hold the stick like a pencil. play, it's the best way to describe it is I allow spirit to come through me and direct me on how to play it. When I first started playing the bowls, I thought, oh, I have to come up with a set piece, sort of like what I just did. But then I found after when I started playing, I feel drawn to play a different bowl, and then I feel like the energy in the room, and where I might start off playing the crown bowl, I'll be like, you know what, I got to spend more time on the throat, and then so I'll play a combination of throat and different bowls. I play all the bowls, but the combination, and it's not the same every week. If I videotape myself week after week after week after week, everything is always different. The one thing that is a constant is I'll play 15. I do about a 45-minute session, first 15 minutes, and then I'll get up and walk around to everybody, and I'll use what's called the crystal pyramid. So it sort of makes a different sound, but it's the same principle as the bowls. It's more of a soothing. And hitting the bottom makes a different sound than if I hit it on the side.
Yeah, that has a more metallic sound, even though it's not metal.
It's still pure quartz crystal, but yeah.
It's weird.
And this will just keep vibrating until it may take like a minute or two for it to stop.
It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you feel
you could
feel, because like I could actually feel the vibrations
in your body,
times, like,
hands on the table for our listeners who may not have that experience. Like, no, the table physically, you can feel the vibrations.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
And then the handheld. It's sort of like I do this at the end. It's sort of like putting a little cherry on top of the
it's a very nice little melodious.
Yeah.
I totally get why you would do it that way.
And then the little pyramid. So like I said, when you're laying on the floor and your eyes are closed, and then you hear this little sound over you, it's enough to put you to sleep. So.
I don't know about you, honey. This is close to us. And it's only $5. I'm thinking we ought to take a swing by. You've got my curiosity peaked.
Good for what ails you. All right, next time I want to hear All Along the Watchtower.
It's definitely a very fascinating. Just the vibration and the fact, as Brian said, you feel it in your gut, you feel it in your body.
Yeah,
and in the environment, and just the air itself in the air. Tell me if I'm wrong, but there's a different atmosphere.
It's like it excited with the
and I just wanted to say real quick, for those of your listeners who are wondering, oh, is that really what it sounds like when it's live? I took my headphones off a couple of times, and the sound was absolutely no different.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to take my headphones off. I wanted to hear it, kind of without the.
You're watching it on YouTube, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube of playing the bowls, and the sound is fascinating, and you can get relaxation, but you don't get the resonance that you feel. You don't feel the vibration. Plus, too, they say that quartz crystal has a natural resonance with water, and the human body is like 70-75% water. So the vibration of the bowl, as it spreads out into the room and bounces off the walls and hits us, you're feeling that not just on the the surface, but inside as well, because it's hitting your blood, your cells, your bones.
Yeah. And also from a scientific standpoint, you can say what you want about the mystical side of things, but we know that sound has profound effects on humans' psychology and physiology.
Oh yeah.
I have a very good friend, for example, who does music therapy. The right tones and the right frequencies and things like that can improve mood. They can have beneficial effects on health. There is science to what's happening.
Oh yeah, I mean they use sound waves.
A huge market for it. I mean, casinos for the longest time, that those 3 chimes that you would hear were supposed to be the key sounds to stimulate the reptilian part of your brain, to be keys for supreme happiness. Feeling that's why you get that rush. That's why you get addicted.
All of the bells and the whistles, they're designed to trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say that because I played flute and piccolo back in high school, so the pitch and the actual different frequencies, because you start with C, and that's the bass line for flute as well, and it's like that sort of vibration, because it's also, I think, the key that violins and pianos are also tuned in as well. So I was able to connect with that like almost immediately as he went up and around.
Yeah.
So it's just very easy to just flow into.
I very much want to give you the chance. So tell everybody again, for anyone who's in New Jersey, where is this on Tuesday nights?
It's at the Reiki Hands of Hope office in Old Bridge, New Jersey. Starting in 2018, I'm going to be alternating between Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights because some people can't make Tuesdays, some people can make Wednesday, vice versa.
And what time is it?
8 p.m. And the office does other things too. We do guided meditations and Reiki and the whole
But
nine
$5,
yards.
if somebody out there is listening to this and going, "This is interesting," I don't know. It's $5.
Yeah.
You're out nothing.
That's what
Yeah.
I said. The worst thing that happens if somebody wants to come and try it, after 45 minutes of listening to this, you feel totally relaxed. You've let all your cares go away for 45 minutes. It's about the me time, because if we don't put me time in for ourselves, regardless of the bowls or not, anything we do, if we don't put our own me time in and take care of ourselves, how can we help take care of others?
No, I agree absolutely, and it's an interesting experience. I think Misha and I are going to be turning up because you're around the corner.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that was originally, it's like I was thinking about coming before this, and like I feel awkward asking how much it is, and money being what it is, and it's like, wait, $5, $10 for two of us is nothing.
Yeah.
There's some places, they'll charge. I've seen charge up to $25 for an hour session, but to me, that's like I'm not in it to make money.
You're in it to help
people. Yeah. So, like I said, if the worst case that comes out of it, somebody's totally relaxed and.
And it's always one of my guiding principles with doing this is it's like I don't want the guy who's out. If I'm going to put somebody on my show, I don't want to put the guy out who wants to get rich and take millions. The guy it's like, no, I'm going to take $5 because I want you to have the positive experience and things like that. It's like you're the guy I want to promote this.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think you're going to. I think it's safe to say you're probably going to get a little more free advertising.
Okay. No, I just want to say also, if you want to just check the schedule at ReikiHandsOfHope.com, that'll be listed on there along with other events. So there's the plug, Amy. So be happy.
Now I'm just trying to remember where Old Manawan Road is compared to Route 34.
516 that goes through Old Bridge, and then Old Madawan Road sort of like scoots off to the side.
And the scoots off to the side instead of taking the exit for 18.
Yeah.
Okay, I know. Exactly
it's sort of like where 18 glasses. It's like on that same road. You see it, yeah.
Well, GPS if nothing else. Yeah. Well, she grew up in that area, so it's like.
Yeah, GPS Maximus. Someone had to do it.
It's one of the new American gods. It's there.
No, so as I was telling you in the parking lot when I was coming here, and I put the GPS on.
Yeah.
I figure it's going to take. I just want to take 130. I know I have some lights, but that's
it's a
right
capricious god.
Yes. And then so the GPS is taking me like I think it's going to take me to 130, and instead it wants to take me in this ginormous loop to put me on the turnpike to head back, and I'm like, oh no. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to take the side road to 130, and then I see the miles drop it from 28 miles to go to 12 miles to go, but it's trying to make me turn around and head back towards the turnpike.
So no, you can't go this way. You have to go our way.
Mine does the same thing. It absolutely hates 295. It will do anything to get me off that road. Like if I try to take that road, it will get off the next exit and take this long road all the way down. No, I'm going to stay on 295.
That would depend on your settings. That would depend on your settings.
I've tried my settings. Yeah. I wish there was a thing for avoid back roads. I don't know why they have avoid highways, but I don't have that checked.
There's also, as I understand it, I don't know if it's true of GPS, but I know it was true of like the old MapQuest and things like that, where they would actually give you longer routes to get you past people who paid them a little bit of money.
I have a feeling that's part of it. Because there's certain things like
makes me wonder what the turnpike then.
Wendy's will always show up on my GPS. Most other restaurants don't, but if there's a Wendy's nearby, it pops up.
See, that's one theory. I've heard other theories where kind of like the same thing with how they like do traffic lights. They're programmed a certain way to make sure that you burn the most gas. So this way you're putting more into the gas pumps and putting more back into the economy and whatnot, and making you essentially waste your money and essentially. Like these are the different theories I have heard about the GPS.
They're just demon possessed. Let's be honest.
You don't mess with the demonic possessed GPS unless you've been fully trained by a real demonologist.
Exactly.
You need a 33rd degree in demonology
and a demonology who knows GPS too. They have to know both of them. Right?
Yeah, I can't help you with the GPS one. I'm not the tech guy.
I can do it.
The demon of bad direction.
Yes,
That's who rules.
Now into the school.
Yeah,
I have the one friend who refuses to use GPS because he keeps trying to kill her. And there are a couple of stories of people, and I personally haven't used GPS for a long time now. I tend to think it's people who take it a little too literally. They turn right and drive into a lake and drown, and things like that. And I think it's kind of when it says turn right in 2 miles, you need to remember, wait to hear how far away.
Usually it's telling you your turn is coming up.
Yeah.
Not turn right into this building right now.
So besides the Reiki, is there anything else you have coming up you'd like to promote?
No, nothing until the New Jersey Para-Unity Expo next year, which will be in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I'll have a table, so I'll be there for that.
We'll probably be there again.
Yeah. It was a great experience.
We had a fun time.
As long as Karen's willing to put up with me again, I want to go.
But if I do anything, I'm planning on setting up a couple of paranormal investigations. I like to take people on events where they've never done investigating before. So I'm always having people asking. So I'm going to set up hopefully 2 trips next spring to Burlington Prison Museum, which is a lot of fun, and White Hill Mansion.
Maybe I'll see if we can drag his rear end.
No, probably not.
They're fine. They're fine.
He's a chicken about anything.
I don't want to see a ghost.
But Andrea's first experience, because she never wanted to do an investigation, and her first nighttime when we went to White Hill Mansion, and she was pretty nervous when we got there. But as she got into it, as you get into the flow, like the scared feelings went away, and she had a good time. But if I have any events listed and where I'm asking for people
we'll be in
to come,
communication. And
chucksghost.com. That's my
so
website.
Everybody make sure to chucksghost.com. What was the Reiki website again?
ReikiHandsOfHope.com.
Nice. Both worth checking out. We're coming up to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to. We all want to say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Although we'll be on next week as well. Happy Hanukkah. That yesterday was the last day.
Yeah.
Joyous Kwanzaa.
Happy Krampus.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Merry
Festivus for the rest of you.
Yes.
Merry Yule, that's just started today.
Merry Yule, Happy Solstice. And as I always like to say when I say this on my Facebook,
today is the longest night of the year.
To any of the atheists out there listening to me, convert already. We religious people have all the best holidays.
Not true.
We do. You can't.
We can use the holidays anyway.
Yeah, technically. But I do want to let everybody know about some things coming up with the show. Remember, if you've got a couple of bucks, you want to give us a hand, patreon.com/demonology, patreon.com/demonology. Tune in next week. We'll be having my friend Matt Swain on. He wrote the book, The Ghosts of Country Music. It's a really neat book, and we're going to finally get to ask somebody, is Elvis dead, and have you seen him lately?
Yes.
We've got plenty more coming up for the new year, all worth checking out. And we'll be filling you in as time progresses. But that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everybody for listening to Hamilton Radio, second channel, Paranormal Encyclopedia. Have a good night, Merry Christmas, and God bless. Okay, you're clear. Thank you so much. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a really good